return. He joined the Tuscaroras, and the Tuscaroras were known for taking in runaway slaves and adopting them into their nation. And those slaves oftentimes, of course, helped them design fortifications and fought with them when they fought against the whites during the war. Next slide, please. These are images of the attacks. Tuscaroras attacked plantations and settlements, and they freed Africans unless the Africans took up arms against them and supported their white slavers. You know, during the war, again, they made a distinction between the Africans who were enslaved, who they saw in the same condition as their loved ones who had been kidnapped and sold into slavery, but they did not appreciate the whites who had come and taken their people and sold them into slavery. Next slide, please. But it's also important to understand that during the Tuscarora War and the First War and Second, there were two wars. The Tuscaroras were united in the First War, and in that First War pretty much had defeated the whites in North Carolina. It was Native Americans, Cherokees, Creeks, Chickasaw, not Chickasaws, but Catawbas and Yamassees, who aligned themselves with the whites and created an overwhelming force that defeated the Tuscaroras at Fort Neoroka and basically ended up destroying the Tuscaroras, killing a third of them, enslaving a third of them, and then the rest became refugees and either fled North Carolina or dispersed into the swamps throughout eastern North Carolina. There are numerous descendants of the Tuscaroras in eastern North Carolina today, you know, and Robeson County and in other various counties between Robeson County and Bertie County, but numerous descendants of Tuscaroras and the other Indian groups, the Mattamuskeet and Machapungas, who fled into the swamps and remain, you know, in North Carolina and refused to leave. Neoroka is, there was a memorial put there a couple of years ago. It is still considered one of the largest mass burials of Native people. Over 900, close to 900 people were killed and burned alive in the fort during the final siege at Fort Neoroka. It's still in Snow Hill, North Carolina today. And a memorial to those people who were killed in that battle was put up a couple of years ago, which I thought was a wonderful thing to talk about, you know, what had happened in terms of the sacrifice that Tuscarora people had experienced during the Tuscarora War. Next slide, please. So, and again, you have to close me down because I mean, we're wrapping it up. The war ends. These are the nations here, the Cherokees, the Creeks, the Yamassees, the Catawbas, and then white slavers who basically destroy the Tuscaroras in eastern North Carolina and enslave them. And it leads to what we call the Tuscarora diaspora, because even though there were many Tuscaroras that stayed in North Carolina as refugees in their homeland, fleeing persecution and violence, others left North Carolina and settled in a host of places. Next slide, please. It's important to understand that following the Tuscarora War and the acquiring of Tuscarora and their allies' land in eastern North Carolina, in a skirmish after the war in 1715, in which a white was wounded. He wasn't killed, he was wounded by Tuscaroras. The state of North Carolina issued a general order that called for the complete destruction of the Tuscarora nation as if there had never been a peace made with them. That order led to the systematic slaughter of the remaining free Tuscaroras throughout eastern North Carolina. A lot of people in eastern North Carolina, if you talk to them, they're of African American, Native American, or mixed European ancestry, they'll say that they're Cherokee. Now, Cherokees were never in this part of eastern North Carolina other than during the Tuscarora War. Cherokees' lands began in Tennessee, in the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. But the Cherokees were great heroes to North Carolina for their role in the destruction of the Tuscarora during the Tuscarora War. So I believe, and this is an assumption, you know, that as a defensive mechanism or a way to preserve their existence, many remnant peoples who were Tuscarora or other began to say that they were Cherokee to basically preserve their existence in eastern North Carolina, because Tuscaroras, if they knew you were a Tuscarora, you would either be killed or you would be enslaved. Your women and children would be taken and enslaved. And so many of the Tuscaroras who were left in eastern North Carolina after the war, who did not migrate out, just kind of went undercover and just blended into the white and the general Black population in Eastern North Carolina.
All right. All right.